Hi, I'm Randy Thurman, lead operator of the front countershaft department. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the hazards or potential hazards that operators face on a daily basis. But in this department, as well as throughout the plant, everything starts with proper PPE. So we have to put on our safety shoes, our ear protection, our eye protection, and safety gloves. Now, throughout the department or throughout some of the other videos, you may see operators wearing different color gloves. Some of the gloves signify different for handling different materials. Some of it is just operator preference. Within the front countershaft department, we have three commodities. We have the front countershaft itself, we have the front countershaft single locks, and we have the front countershaft double locks. All three starts with rough forging. It goes from the rough forging to a turning operation where it turns it down, to a hobbing operation where it actually hobs teeth within the gear, a shaving operation where it puts a smooth finish on it to reduce noise. Then it has the finish operation where it takes a key, a pin, and a woodger. Now, unlike the front countershaft, single locks and the double locks, they don't take keys or pins, but they all follow the same process. You have the rough forging, you have a facing center where it actually drills a hole for the turning machine. You have the turn, you have the hobbing of the teeth, and then you have the shaving of the teeth to give it that smooth finish. Here in double locks, it's the same process. You have the rough forging, you have the facing center, you have the turning, the hobbing of the teeth, and the finish operation of the shaving of the gear. Now, throughout this video, we're going to see that we're going to talk about JSA, which is the job safety analysis. We're going to talk about standardized workflow, and we're going to talk about 5S in later videos. Well, let's go look at some of the potential hazards that's throughout this department. Before we start our department tour, the first thing that I want to point out is the pedestrian crosswalk. This crosswalk is not only for the protection of the operator walking through, but it's also a warning for the forklift drivers to slow down or actually stop when they come to this crosswalk. It's for the safety of all in this plant. Along with all of our crosswalks, we have these walking aisles. In every department, you'll see these walking lanes. These lanes are for the pedestrian safety, but it's also to let the forklift driver know that this particular area they're not to invade in. Throughout this department, you'll see on these yellow poles, you'll see these yellow caution signs. These caution signs are for slip hazards, slip or trip hazards. It may be throughout the plant. It's to let anybody passing through know that there's a potential slip hazard on the floor. It may come from a spill, or it may come from the operator mopping at the end of the day. But this sign is for safety to let everybody know that when you're walking through this cell, there's a potential slip hazard. And knowing that Eaton is big on recycling as well as safety, you'll see throughout this department, you'll see these recycle signs. Let's take a look to see what these signs are.
You will find many different colored recycling symbols throughout the plant. Let's cover those and what they mean. The orange symbol is for the recycling of steel hob chips that are oil-based. The dark green symbol is for the recycling of steel and gray iron chips that are coolant-based. The purple symbol is for the recycling of aluminum chips and solids. The tan symbol is for the recycling of gray iron solids. The red symbol is for the recycling of steel solids. The light green symbol is for the recycling of used oil. The blue symbol is for the recycling of paper and cardboard products. The yellow symbol is for the recycling of mop and coolant sump water. If you have any additional questions regarding these symbols or recycling at Eaton, please see your lead operator or team coach for more information.
Now that we understand what these recycle symbols are all about, let's take a quick look at one of our cells. Now this is the front countershaft single lock cell. This is the front end of the cell. And when you walk into this cell, there are some potential hazards that you may face. One of the main hazards that we have here is chip stringers. As you see, there is a safety sign here letting everybody know, or warning everybody, not to put your hands in there and pull the stringers out with your hand. But use the proper equipment to cut the stringers away. Not only is this a potential hazard, but by these machines running coolant, we also have the hazard of a potential slip hazard. Throughout these cells, you will notice that slip hazards are one of the main causes, or one of the potential hazards that throughout every cell. But with the coolant, we also have an issue with skin irritation. There have been those who have come in contact with the coolant on their skin and it has actually broken them out. So we have to be careful with that also. And continuing on our tour, on just about every machine you will find an oil skimmer. And the potential hazard here is that sometimes these skimmers, when they're not attended, they'll overfill and the oil will spill out on the floor. This could potentially be a slip hazard if it's not handled at the proper time. As we continue our tour, we're standing right now at countershaft cell 3. And in countershaft cell 3, we have a keyway machine, we have 2 shavers, and they all have potential slip hazards. We have this washer here that is another potential slip hazard because it has alkaline, cutting oil, and coolant. Those are the 3 potential slip hazards in this department. Now the shaving chips are not too much of an issue because they're so fine that there's no issue with cutting. Also in this area you will notice that on just about every pole we have a fire extinguisher. We know that fire extinguishers are for fire safety, but I want you to also notice the height of every extinguisher. Each extinguisher is at an ergonomically safety height so that it can be handled by anyone in the plant, no matter how small or how tall. It's all about ergonomics and about safety. As we continue our tour, I'm standing in the midst right now of front countershaft cell 1 and cell 2. Now the potential hazard here, standing at this countershaft rack, we have a pinch hazard issue. This hazard is not only in cell 1 and 2, but it's also a potential hazard in cell 3. And unlike cell 3 with the chips, we have a greater risk of the chip stringers here at cell 1 and 2. So we want to be kind of careful about that. Even with the chip trimmers, you still have the signs that are displayed as letting you know what's the proper tool to use when you're trying to break the stringers loose. So we just want to be careful with that. But in this front countershaft cell, the rest of the hazards are pretty much the same. Your slip hazards, your coolants, your oil, all of them are pretty much the same throughout cell 1, 2, and 3. So let's move on to the next part of our tour. And as we continue our tour on the way to the hard turn finishing part of this department, I want to point out something else to you. I want to point out to you this crosswalk here. Notice the color of it. It's white. And that means that the forklift driver must definitely stop here and versus to the yellow one down on the other end. Now the yellow one signifies caution. It means that you have to slow down and look both ways. But on this one here, there's no doubt about it. You got to stop every time. And as we continue with our tour, this is the singles and doubles hard turn area in our shaft department. Now I want to caution you that the hazardous risk in this department are very minimal. It's not a whole lot of material that is being taken off in this particular area. So we don't have a high risk with the chip stringers or even with coolant. But the only issue that I would really stress is that we still have to be cautious that no matter where you're at in this plant, there's always a potential hazardous risk. Whether it's a slip, trip, and fall, or whether it's a falling object, or whether it's just you being aware as an operator that you need to keep on and make sure at all times you're wearing your proper PPE. And as we continue with our tour, this is the robot keyway grind cell. This is also part of the hard turn operation in front countershaft. And the potential hazards are pretty much the same as they are in all the cells. Still have the trip hazard because these machines actually run off coolant. We also still have, but now the chip hazard is very minimum, only because with the grinding operation, it grinds the chips more than cuts the chips. So the chip hazard is not that bad. But what we do have with this automation cell, we do have a robot with an enclosed cage. And we need to know that anytime an operator goes in and out of this cell, he has to use the lockout tagout procedure on this particular job. Now we do know that lockout tagout is standard throughout this whole plant, but in this particular area it's utilized a little more than it is on these other jobs. So with that being said, the only other potential hazards that we have here are potentially pinch hazards, because the operator here has to actually beat the key into the shaft. So the operator has to always be aware at all times what he's doing and how he's doing it when he's beating these keys in the shaft. Let's move on to another part of the tour. And as we close to our final end of our tour, I just want to take a moment to point out this particular department here. This is the bottom end of single and double locks. And this is, in this particular department, is where you have the highest risk of a slip hazard. Because these shavers run cutting oil, there's always the potential risk for a slip, trip, and fall. So we just want to encourage everybody that when you're in this department, to be careful, because we know that the operators do the best they can to keep this floor clean. There's always the potential hazard of a slip. So be careful, stay safe. And as we come to a close of our tour, there's one other thing that I want to point out. Stop observation. This is a program designed for individuals who may be walking through our cell or by our cell and see a potential risk or a hazard, where they can fill out the stop observation to bring to our attention maybe something that we haven't seen ourselves, and it's something that we can address immediately. So if you have any other issues concerning safety or a risk in a job, just go and check your training matrix, where you will find your JSA, that's your job safety analysis, that will give you all the information that you need to know concerning any particular cell and the risk that's involved. So this is the end of our tour. I, Randy Thurman, lead operator, front canter shafts, we want to thank you and hope you enjoy it.
Become familiar with the hazards that exist with your job. Be aware of mechanical hazards. These include cutting and severing, entanglement, crushing, drawing in and trapping, and projectiles. Additional hazards include machine motions, from manual loading and unloading, unexpected startups, rotating parts, and nipper pinch points. Always perform safety checks at the start of your shift to ensure that all safety equipment is working properly. All process hazards may not have been covered in this video. If you're not sure about a risk or hazard, please see your coach or lead operator for additional information.